Lord Vincent Keaveney, the 693rd Lord Mayor of London. Welcome to Kuwait, and thank you very much for giving us this opportunity of being our guest on Kuwait Television. Can you please first elaborate on the purpose of your visit? I understand you've also visited Saudi Arabia.
That's right, in Saudi Arabia and UAE. I've just come from Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and in that role, I mean, you mentioned I'm the 693rd Lord Mayor of the City of London, so it's an incredibly historic role. But these days, the principal role of the Lord Mayor is as a representative for our the United Kingdom's financial and professional services, and indeed our tech sector as well. So I'm here looking at and talking about the opportunities that exist, particularly the opportunities for partnership between Kuwait and the United Kingdom. And I'm seeing great opportunities while I'm here, helping Kuwait achieve its 2035 vision, 2035 ambitions, but also just building on that long and enduring relationship between the two countries that we saw so recently, of course, with the death of Her late Majesty and the real outpouring of sympathy here in Kuwait following Her Majesty's death.
Excellency, Brexit happened on January 31st, 2020. Now, almost 3 years later, how has this affected London's attractiveness as a European base for Kuwaiti banks?
Well, Brexit has been, I can't deny that Brexit has been a factor in the life of the city over the last, the financial industry in the United Kingdom over the last couple of years. But the reality is, when you look at what's happened, we think, I mean, EY, they've looked at these numbers since 2016, and they estimate that we've lost in London about 7,000 jobs to Brexit in the financial services world. And that's a tiny number when you compare the size of the sector and the tens of thousands of new jobs that we've created over this period in tech and fintech and the innovation that we're seeing. And I think that's why for banks such as the Kuwaiti banks, which have a strong presence in London, of course, it remains a great centre, because you've got the language, you've got the time zone, you've got the access to capital from around the world, you've got the access to talent as well. We've got a tremendously multinational, diverse, talented group of people working in the financial services industry in London. And I think all of those factors, as well, of course, as London being a pretty good place to live and people feeling very comfortable living in London and visiting London, many Kuwaitis do, all of those make it an enduring, strong place for financial services firms like the Kuwaiti banks to base themselves.
What are the opportunities available in Kuwait for UK companies, especially now with the Kuwait Direct Investment Promotion Authority, KDIPA, playing a big role in attracting foreign investments and investors?
This is very important, because I think the biggest challenge is telling that story and making these opportunities better known around the world, and certainly in the United Kingdom. And there are great opportunities, whether they're infrastructure investment opportunities or using the professional services, the architects, the engineers, the lawyers, as Kuwait moves towards realizing those 2035 ambitions. There are fantastic opportunities here in Kuwait for the professional services firms, and of course for the financial services firms which have capital to invest. Kuwait's not short of capital, but it can be useful to have co-investors in some of these projects from around the world.
Excellency, what role does the free trade agreement between the UK and the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC, play to increase their financial relations, especially during a time of global economic transformation?
Well, free trade agreements, I think, are a good thing generally. I mean, there's a lot of positives flow. The evidence is very strong to show what a positive impact free trade agreements have on trading relationships. And I've no doubt at all, if we can conclude, and I hope we will, and I'm optimistic that we will, a free trade agreement between the GCC states and the UK, we will see that benefit in terms of trade flows. I would love the agreement to be a comprehensive agreement that would cover services and financial and professional services as well. But even if we can't quite get there on a multilateral basis at that level of ambition, it will still be positive, and it will set a positive tone for further bilateral negotiations on particular issues such as regulatory and market access issues in particular countries in the GCC. This is a really positive step forward, and I hope there was a good first round of negotiations recently. We'll be starting the second round of negotiations soon. I really hope over the coming months we'll make some progress on that, because it would be great for the GCC, great for the UK, great for Kuwait.
Kuwait-UK relations are historic. Can you tell us a little bit more how important these historical relations, especially with the City of London? As you said, many Kuwaitis love to visit and live there, and the United Kingdom in general.
Yes, it is a very special relationship, and I felt that. I was here as Lord Mayor-elect 12 months ago, and here again, you do feel the real warmth. But we need to translate that now into more and stronger business ties between us. There is a strong partnership already, so I'm very keen to build on that. Trade is, I mean, in terms of trade with the GCC region, trade is about 35.5 billion sterling, the two-way trade. Kuwait is a small percentage of that, so there's a lot to play for here. We can certainly increase the UK-Kuwait relationship in trade.
Excellency, let us move away from the agreement and talk about awarding the wife of the former Kuwaiti ambassador to the United Kingdom, Mrs. Dalal Al-Hameli, the Honorary Freedom Medal for the City of London. I believe you played a role in that.
That was a real pleasure at the end of their term, as their very long, very distinguished term in the ambassador's role office in London. And Madame Dalal, of course, was a wonderful support for Ambassador Khaled over his many years in London. She had a real presence. She did great philanthropic work in London as well, and was she was a great representative herself for Kuwait. So it was a huge pleasure to be able to arrange for her to obtain the freedom of the City of London. The ambassador himself had received it some years before, so it only felt appropriate that they should both return to Kuwait as free men, free women of the City of London. So, and I was delighted, and we had a wonderful celebration of that.
How do you see the role of your partnership and excellent relations with the Middle East region, the GCC countries, and moving forward with the fight against climate change?
My view in this region, and indeed across the world, but I think the particular focus I've had here in my discussions here is on transition. We have to face the need to transition to net zero over the coming years, and I'm very much looking forward to Kuwait articulating its net zero objectives over the coming months. We've got COP27 coming up in November, so there's an opportunity for Kuwait to set out its goals at COP. That's, I hope, something that will happen. But it's about transition. It's about working with the hydrocarbon, the oil industry, working with the major oil producers to find a way that they can decarbonize their industry, reduce the sulfur content of crude, make their product less carbon intensive, but also to use the innovation and the resources they have in areas such as carbon capture and storage. And they can the oil industry can provide a platform for very, very serious quantities of carbon to be captured and stored in the ground. That sort of innovation, I think, will, with I hope support from British engineering companies, with British innovation alongside our friends here in Kuwait, I have no doubt at all that we will achieve what we need to achieve through those net zero goals over the coming years.
The Lord Mayor of London, thank you very much for being our guest on Kuwait Television.